is that kind of a character who's at crossroads. You don't know which is right and which is wrong. There are, and that happens a lot in Northeast. It has happened in Meghalaya specifically. During the course of the research for my film Re, I've met some constables, so somebody who's lost his leg, or somebody who's not being able to, the only earning member of the family, but he's not being able to work because maybe he's been amputated or disabled by the insurgent problem. So this is a very grey zone in the Northeast. When you go there, you don't know which is right and which is wrong. Because Alpha has also done a lot of, they've wrecked a lot of lives. If the Indian Army has done that, they've also done that equally. So that is where I've, Bidisha is like it's a conflict, it's an inner conflict which I just put it into words. And I don't know if I've been able to do justice to it. So that's like you'll have to find out. There are, like, Manipur is worse. Manipur is worse.
Tell us about Bidisha. Tell us about how Bidisha became the way she became and why, according to you, things that are not written there in the book. We want the author's perspective.
See, Bidisha recoils in fear. She leaves the place of her birth. I've been away, I've been displaced from the place of my birth. There are a lot of reasons for that, which are not exactly by choice. So there somewhere, I think Bidisha has also a little of my inner self. Because I didn't get work in my home state. I had no other option, so I had to come down here. So it's like I ran away for some other reason. Bidisha has also run away for some other reason. But then she runs away, and she comes back. Her soul. She cannot face the realities of Assam. Assam of 20 years ago. Now the insurgency is very less, but like, she could not face it on a day-to-day basis. She runs away from there, along with her father, because she also has to save her father. Her father is losing sanity because he's seen his wife die, he's seen his daughter die. And he's been injured by the bullets of the army, so she's got no other option.
What made you write this story, seriously? Because there must be something that propelled you to write this story. I can see it in your eyes. You had to write the story, that's why it's here.
I'll tell you the trigger to write the story was the slaughter of the men from Assam Rifles this July. So that was the trigger which had, because I was very disturbed. I didn't know what was right or wrong. There were a lot of beliefs. The same thing happened to me when I was doing Lee. I didn't know who's right, whether the men in uniform are right or whether my Bidisha is right. So that I had to put it in words. I just think I thank them for giving me this opportunity and choosing my story.
That's lovely, that's lovely. This actually brings anybody, we would want to know what made you all write, come up with this. What's the history behind this book?
It is a dream that died.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
What was the trigger quoting her?
Basically, before the book started, the blog started, which is known as Incredible Women of India, and it kind of started out of nothing. I was at home, out of work. I had a 2-year-old daughter to take care of. I couldn't leave her behind and go to work. And I was really depressed, and I was looking for inspiration from everyday divas, everyday women around me. And that's when I started writing about them. I first started with friends and family, and then I started stalking women online. And they were like, "Who are you? Why are you stalking us?" And they were really scared of me. But yeah, it was really difficult to get women to talk about themselves because they don't think they're incredible in any sort of way. Like, I'm normal, I'm to Shadharun. Everybody says that. Any time I ask somebody to tell their story, that's the first thing they say. Why me? I don't do anything special in life, but that's what's incredible, isn't it? To face daily challenges, to face up small things in life, day in, day out, sweat it out. So slowly as I started compiling all the stories in the blog, it came to me that how about it takes a bigger form. In online, let's be very honest, how many people have internet access? A book will have probably a bit more access to a lot more people. And that's when I called Stocked Lopa. And she said again the same thing. Why me?
You stopped me
Yeah.
way back in 2013.
Yes.
Hi,
Yes, I'm an online
Can you
stalker.
hear me? First of all, I'll apologize because I have a very bad broken voice due to laryngitis. This city is very dear to me. I call it home, but it damages my voice every time I come here due to acute laryngitis. So I hope you will pardon me that aspect of mine and let me continue with whatever little I have to talk. This book is not only a book for us, it's a journey, a joint vision that we dreamt together. Because when I saw the blog for the first time and read the interviews and some articles which I really thought were hidden gems in the truest sense of the term. If you browse the blog, you will get to read some extraordinary stories told in a very different lens, which are the stories of our everyday lives. Like sometimes the stories are written fictionally because the women do not want to disclose their real names. But there was the story of Pragya Roy, Aheli Sen, right? I felt there was, like in every story.
Also mentioned here, one of the incredible women I wrote about is present here, Ananya Roy, who is a stand-up.
Who is she?
I would request you to go back and read her story. She's a fighter, she's a survivor. She doesn't like being called a cancer survivor, isn't it, Ananya? She's just living her life and how she lived it and how she fought it. You must go and read on the blog.
Yeah, I read that. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Why don't you
shared it so many times.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a bit?
It's on her voice itself, I think. So, would you like to speak a little bit? Yes, thank you, Ananya. Good evening, everybody. I'm not a public speaker. I've never written anything. I just read. It's just that I happened to come across Reeti through a common friend of mine, my para friend.
Who's also right.
Yeah, she's one of the authors in this book. So, Urpita Banerjee. We grew up together, and I'm a chartered accountant by profession. I was working with the Oberoi group of hotels, and yeah, I know Ipshita also. She was in the neighboring department. I was in audit, and right after my child was born, everything was smooth. Before that, I was detected with thyroid cancer, and it was when she was 3 months old. I was seeing your child, and I was remembering that phase of my life. And everything turned topsy-turvy. I mean, you can well imagine. It was a matter of maybe 2 months. I was operated upon, and they said we had a frozen section biopsy. I don't want to go into the details too much, the medical aspects of that, but after a month of the first surgery, where they said it was benign, I was again told that no, it was a malignant thing, and within 1.5 months after the first surgery, I had a second surgery. I lost my voice completely, and the voice that you're hearing today, it's probably I got 70% of it back. I don't know how, God's grace maybe, and I have a vocal cord.
It's through your own grit and determination. God will happen later. Nobody has seen God. We all believe in God, but we are our own mistresses of our own destinies.
Yeah, that's true. I would like to thank my husband also. He was a pillar of my support. I've been able to go through. Like you said, without men we are incomplete. And even when my parents were, they were so shocked. It was really shocking for them, but he was there all through. I mean, by my side. So I used to sing. Music was my passion, and I lost it completely for 4 years. I wouldn't hear anything because I could not tolerate the, sound of music. Because I lost it completely. And even now I have a partial vocal cord paralysis. Maybe it's not apparent from my voice, but one side of my vocal cord does not move. So when I got back my music, after 4 years, when my daughter was, I think, 3, I found out that she could sing, and maybe that helped me. I took her to my music teacher, and because she had to practice, I've written everything in Riti's blog actually, so they know probably by now. But because I had made a practice, I had to sit with her, and my voice would choke. There would be tears in my eyes. It was so painful. But eventually, I'm happy that it paid off.
You defiant.
And I'm happy, and I thank all the people who stood by me, and I quit my job also. So today I have started pursuing my passions, and I'm happy.
Brilliant.
That's it.
I love.
Thank you.
See, this is where Defiant Dreams, this name originates from. It originated from a poem that I wrote in my blog, and that surprisingly was the first thing that I wrote when I woke up in the morning. Like, I was reading through these women's stories. I read her story, there were some other extraordinary stories. Then I said, why don't we write about everyday women who rise to everyday challenges, which no matter small they are the slices of their soul, and how they overcome their own society constructed paralysis, which I call it, and rise to extraordinary rise above ordinary circumstances to be the everyday divas that we have mentioned in the book.
When you go through the book, the stories, there are stories of exploitation as well.
Yeah.
For instance, you have the story by Devoshmita Nandi, which talks about a woman who is exploited because she trusted. She trusted her husband, and then she lost all. But she chose to live. Do we have Devoshmita here?
Yeah, she's written.
So I saw the footnote in your after your story. You say it's from a real life, inspired by a real life. Could you?
It's the story of the woman who used to work as a cook in my house. So while she would cook, she would chat with me. She would talk a lot about her life. So from there, when I heard her whole story, I was very inspired. So when I saw the topic of the contest, immediately I knew that this is the story that I want to send in. I didn't care whether it won or not, but for me, she's a winner. So I'm very glad that I could finally put out her story in the book for others to read and be inspired.
She knows that?
Yes, I've told her, but I don't know whether she fully understood. She's not educated and all, so but once I'm hoping I'll be able to show this to her. She actually doesn't work for me anymore. She's gone back to her native village. She is successful. She doesn't want to work in people's houses anymore, and she wants to, till her own land, set a shop in her land, and do things with her life. So,
Because even in the story, this woman is a naive woman. She's the more
This one.
Yes, she's naive. She's like she says, she's not educated. So it's very vulnerable to exploitation. But a woman with so much of grit hidden in her, which she realizes only after she gets exploited. We'll have Anindita here. She can tell us more such tales because she's
Actually, when I read the story, I was telling Devoshmita that I recognized hundreds of stories like this because I've been working on trafficking and for a long time. One of the films that Mona was mentioning 11 years ago, that was the first time I started working on trafficking, and that was like urban trafficking story, and all those stories were like these incredible stories from real life. Because as a filmmaker, I always feel, which is why I told Riti when I was talking to her on phone, that thank God you got this book out, because as a filmmaker, I always find that the storytellers, the normal ones, like the bestsellers shelf are full with, they don't write about the people we actually meet every day. And those are the stories need to be told. So I actually started writing so that I could write about these women. So thank God such a large collection is there, so that I can just pick up one and try and make them into films. But coming back to what I was saying, in fact recently I was working on trafficking, and it is not just the uneducated. It is also very trusting housewives who's educated, but then they trust their man, or the need to work. there are two ways women are trafficked. One is love, marriage, the promise of love, and other is the promise of work. I recently met a girl in South Chobbish Pargona. Her name is Pyra. It came out in some news channels also. She was sold for 600 bucks.
Oh my God.
Not sold. The parents were given 600 rupees, saying that they will get money every year. 4 years the parents have not seen
Which
the daughter.
is the most unfortunate part. How can a parent, however much
No, they
needy
don't.
they are,
They have, after Ayla, if you go to the Sundarban area, I mean, they're devastated. The family's income is 2,000 rupees and they have 6 mouths to feed. So they were not selling her, they were sending her to work. Like this woman thought that, she is going with there is a trust factor always. And that is what is exploited by the men. Of course, it is male-dominated crime, but there are women involved as well because it's a nexus. It's a huge network.
It's trust and aspiration too, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And those people, I mean, at least like the husband, he exists in the city, in the village, and he flourishes with his family. The same way, if you go to Murshidabad, is one of the worst hit. Yeah, Jolongi, the entire area. Yeah, the area. Especially even Boshirhat, every day there are 30-40 girls being trafficked through the borders. It's horrifying, yeah.
I just want to interrupt here. Do you find any particular ethnic community who is more prone to this trafficking, or
yes, not really, but but the border areas, the Muslim families are badly hit because there is no work. There is no work, and the girls are normally sold, not sold. They're married off. And if somebody is giving you 6,000, 4,000, 5,000 rupees and saying I'm taking her to Gurgaon or somewhere,
they fall an easy prey to that.
Yeah, and the family falls because it's one less mouth to feed.
Yeah. And these are during peace times, but usually this is, you may keep an eye next time maybe. Whenever there's a catastrophe, like a natural calamity, like an earthquake, like floods, whenever that hits, that area somehow becomes it lures traffickers. That becomes a hotspot for traffickers. And of course, again here, women and girl children, even boys of course, women and children are the most vulnerable, as we all know. But this is so. We are human beings. We say human quality comes from the word human. We have certain qualities which doesn't make us a beast, but how we exploit people's weakness, how we exploit people's misery and sorrow at a time when they need help most. That is during a catastrophe. For instance, in Nepal earthquake, if you speak to rescue workers there, you will see that those places are swarming with traffickers. For a few hundred rupees, they would just take away the girl and sell them off to anywhere. Maybe in Bombay, maybe abroad. The parents will never ever get to see the girl.
In fact, I like the fact that she's gone back to her village and she's found her own, spine. Yeah, because it's so difficult for them to go back. The biggest to escape was I felt like I was reading fiction, but I knew it was a true story. But I was feeling like reading fiction because to escape is almost because I have been with a lot of these rescue missions. I was a young student in Film Institute and I used to go for all these volunteer for the rescues in Kamatipura because a lot of Bangladeshi girls were there and they needed an interpreter. And for me, for a filmmaker, you're always looking for ways to expose to interesting people rather. And it's impossible that she escaped. But maybe if you're in touch, I'm sure she is going to also fight against other women. Because I know
after overcoming everything, they don't usually want to come out with their story.
No. Then you haven't met them. I'll tell you, I was supposed to tell
There's a particular sentence there. One of the women says, how will you survive without a man?
Without
that was her own aunt and the mother of her aunt, like her maternal grandmother who said it, right?
This one who said was about her brother's family.
Brother's family, yeah.
Why are you divorcing him?
Yeah.
And she says that I live my own life. However, I must say that she went on to marry the second man who was...
Did she eventually marry that guy?
Yes, she married him, and he's a very, very nice person, and well, yeah, she's happy now with him. And
So you see how her fortunes changed when she came into money. When she was not money, and when she came into money. So I think, somewhere women's live or women's emancipation is very how we lost the our liberty at the dawn of civilization, and how we all can get it back. I think somewhere the economics is linked with it.
Yeah, financial independence
was fought over money and women.
No, I want to tell Joey one woman, and I want to share with all of you. This is another incredible woman, Monika Shorkar. She lives in a village, small village near Boshirhat. Not too many, media also talks about her because she's illiterate. And she has 2 daughters. She's a single mother with 2 daughters. She herself was trafficked. She's a trafficking survivor. Then she told me when the Supreme Court legislation came out, verdict came out, verdict came out, that a single mother has her right on the child. So I was asked on a lot of panels because I myself am a single mother, and I said, no, what is there for me to be strong about? I'm financially independent. I build my own society. Monika's daughter is like, one daughter is 14 or 15 and another is 7 or 8, and she is surviving in Boshirhat, and she fights against trafficking. So she runs an NGO, and every day she rescues about 2 to 3 girls, and she runs the child helpline. And she says how she escaped. She says her husband used to force her to have sex with other men, sell her basically. And one night she said no, and her husband tried to strangulate her. And while she was gagging and choking, the little girl woke up and saw her, and in fear she cried. And that night she decided to run away. After that, she worked as a daily wager, a din mojur. When I worked in fields and in construction sites, but she said that she's never going back because the daughters were terrified, and daughters were her strength. So this is the second generation of incredible women growing up, because the daughters never know who the father is. They don't want to know who the father is, and they are proud of their mother's identity. The older one is studying in Barashat College, so she journeys from Boshirhat as 15, 16-year-old girl, and that incredible,
the grit.
Absolutely, it's so easy for us to be in the city and talk about strength, yeah. But there, while I was there in Boshirhat with her, I went to see her and her work area. 3 threat calls came.
Oh my God.
3 threat calls came, and she put it on speakerphone, and we heard it because she stops this child marriages, because the child marriages are directly linked to trafficking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and she runs the child helpline. So they call her up and threatens. And in spite of that life threats and everything, she's working. And she's just a 5 feet woman. You won't believe that powerhouse of energy. So that's what I'm saying. She's a survivor. And she said, not another girl, at least if I can stop it, is going to go through the same fate. So it's not enough that you survive. It's you pass on the torch. Yeah.
While reading this book, I was speaking to Reethi about it as well. Other than this, these are like things that are very violent very violent to hear. They're outrageously stepping on your boundary. But then there are these small things that happen behind doors. Things that we don't talk about on a daily basis. I myself know 5 women, I was telling Reethi about it, who are apparently, who move around amongst you. You see them every day, you're talking to them, but the moment the doors are closed, they are treated like animals. They lose their identity. Often, while teaching and while discussing in seminars, I believe in this concept of genderlessness, where your own gender should not matter, where your body is, whether you have breasts or whether you have a penis, it should not occur. But then again, this is a reality that we cannot escape, which is why I write poetry. In my poetry, I'm a girl. In my poetry, I'm a boy. In my poetry, I can be anywhere. But the reality is so gross. The reality at times bogs you down. Reality makes you suffer. And that time, things that you might reject idealistically, you have to accept it. For example, when any woman, you're walking down and you'll say that I don't care, but there are those men who snigger. Unfortunately, they do not, that's when objectification happens. And end of the day, who are we talking about? Aren't we only talking about subaltern people? Anybody who is not right now here, a male person who is earning and who is established, anybody other than that is a subaltern. That is somebody who is very, very different. And whoever that is, they have their own personal battles. Here again, saying this, but what about the case of the man? That is also a question. You cannot say that all men are like this. Herein comes power. Anybody who has power, whatever be it, they try to misuse it, which is why there are some women also who are involved in trafficking, which is in exploitation and in trafficking.
It is all a vicious circle actually. It may be created by men, but right from the root there are women who have joined hands in the nexus.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I must step in here. You know, she was talking about financial independence. Yesterday, I get these calls, letters also on Facebook. A desperate call came. I was changing my son's diaper, the one who's shouting right behind me, yes. And my father was like, don't take the call. But I saw the number and I said, I must take it. And this woman was crying. She was copiously crying and saying, please, Didi, do something. I said, what? I know her story. She had called me once before. She's not financially independent. She's a very well-educated girl from Calcutta. Her mother-in-law teaches, and I'm telling this because these people need to be exposed. I don't know the name, so I can't tell you. She teaches in modern school. The father-in-law is working in a central government office. They don't allow the woman to breastfeed her own baby.
Oh my God.
She had a son, and the controlling of the son remains in the in-laws' house. I'm sorry. Maybe you should come.
This is what happens. We are
And I kept telling her that you have to get out of there. So, but she says, and then it's also true. She's afraid that she's not financially independent, so she might lose the custody of the child. And she said, she called me, last time she called me during Eid, and she said, for 5 days I've not eaten anything. And I said, what are you saying? You're 7 months old baby, you're breastfeeding if you're not eating. So you know, it's and I cannot break down her door and enter.
Because we have
That's the frustration I have. Then I actually, you know, because she herself won't allow me. Because there's this layers of hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. And so I, in my own limited way, advised her. I said, please write your complaints so that there is a record of what is happening to you. You don't give it to the police. You send it to me. You send it to different organizations. So it's also like these women who are educated behind the doors, as Joey are talking, and their incredible sufferings and the helplessness. You know, on Shoshti, there is another woman who was beaten, but she came to my door because she works as an ayah home in the hospital. And she said, I don't care, I want to put my husband behind bars. She said, he kicked me in my guts and I'm bleeding. So I arranged for her to go to the hospital. She was bleeding. All through Durga Puja, she was bleeding. And every 2-3 days, she calls me up and asks what has happened about putting her husband behind bars. So because she has that financial independence, even though she cleans toilets or whatever in the hospital, but she has the courage to say, I want to put my husband behind bars. This girl, it's incredible. She's got all the education. She's got and her family also won't take her back in.
You know, I'll interrupt you here. There are at times when they're hurt. After being hurt, they're all proactive and they want to do a lot of things. And then I was talking to a friend of mine who's an IPS officer, and he was telling me, Joey, yes, you want to do a lot of everything for everybody, especially women, and you go about it. But once, before bringing them to us, please look into the fact, will they go ahead with it? Because after some time, they always back out, all the time. Another friend of mine who's a High Court lawyer, so I was asking him, why can't we do something about it, these people who are every day walking amongst us? They said, Joey, go ahead, talk to them, see how are they willing to take up the challenge? That's why I'm saying there are, and at that time, what do I do?
There is a point here I want to make. See, you don't want to go ahead for a lot